I also believe that I was in a coma and everything that I was experiencing was fake. So there was a time in my psychotic brain where I genuinely believed that I wasn't real. I genuinely believed that everything that I experienced wasn't real. Now let me backtrack a little bit. So I saw this TikTok, right? Because I'm on TikTok a lot, and it talks about tripping on DMT, and I thought, this seems interesting. I want to look at this video. And the video, well, how would you just see it?
Welcome to Trip Talk. So the other day I heard this insane DMT story. It basically started off with this guy who did DMT, which, if you don't know what that is, it's believed to be a chemical that is found in all living things and is released in your brain when you're born and when you die. Some people think it happens when you dream. Anyway, this guy does it, right? And in his trip, he had an entirely different life. He had a wife, kids, an entirely new home, and for the next 12 years, he lived with them. And when the trip was finished, he returned back to his previous family. Hard part is that he loved this family of his that he was experiencing in this trip and had to live the rest of his life missing them. So my question for you is, what if you're in a DMT trip right now? You just haven't figured it out yet.
You see, in the video, not the main character, but the narrator, he talks about how in this DMT state, a man envisioned an entirely different life. He had a wife, he had kids, a house, a whole nother life in this trip. And that sort of struck home for me because I experienced a feeling similar to having an entirely different life, just not being able to reach it again. So let me explain a little bit. I have a psychotic condition where I experience things that are not based in reality and I believe things that are not based in reality. Sometimes I have extreme paranoid episodes, sometimes I have extreme depressive episodes. Sometimes I get incredibly manic and sometimes I get incredibly angry. That's just part of having this mental illness. And when it first set in, I had these strange beliefs. They're called delusions in the medical field. A delusion is a strongly held belief that isn't based in reality. I had believed that I had created a perfect cell, something that was indestructible and is able to cure everything. I gave it to my friends, I talked about it, and I genuinely believed that I had created a perfect cell. I also believed that I was in a coma, and everything that I was experiencing was fake. I believed that I believed that I wasn't real, and the real me was somewhere in a hospital bed, and all of this is in my head. I believe that I had an entirely different life, and every time I felt or seen or experienced something that isn't based in reality, I thought that that was the external forces putting stimuli onto my real body, and that's just my body's way of experiencing it, if that makes any sense. It's hard to put into words, but I believe that. And what the guy says about tripping on DMT, for some weird reason, some of my hallucinations, some of my delusions sound like the result of psychedelics. Even though I've never been on a psychedelic, I would never want to be on a psychedelic because, well, antidepressants and psychedelics don't really mix together. Haha, it'll cause you to get serotonin syndrome and kill yourself. But I'll probably end up killing myself without serotonin syndrome. That was kind of dark. We're moving on from that. DMT is a very interesting drug. It is a very, very interesting drug. It's something that I always wondered, I wonder if this kind of stuff really led to us developing these certain beliefs, like religion and stuff like that. Because people say, oh, the burning bush in the Bible, the burning bush that Moses encountered was actually a DMT bush, and it was burning and it was giving off DMT vapors. I don't know. I'm not entirely well versed in the study or in the theory, but that's essentially what I remember. But coming back to the main point, I don't know what is real. I don't know what is real. Even today, when I was going out for a walk with my dog, if I see a tree walking, I don't know if that's real. If I see a little imp, for lack of better words, running around in the shadows, I don't know if that's real. If I experience something like a bright light that comes out of nowhere, like a flash of lightning, sorry, there's an alarm going off, but if I see something like a flash of lightning and nobody else does, I just have to accept the fact that, yeah, my reality is kind of breaking down in front of me. And I don't know what is really real and what isn't real. Even now, I question whether or not I am actually living a life or if I really am just in a coma, in a coma. I don't know. The English language is weird, but I genuinely think to myself, I'm thinking, I was like, what if I'm dead and this is purgatory? You know, it's not a delusional thought. It's just a very curious, morbidly curious thought. And let me put a big disclaimer. Just because you have thoughts like, oh, I wonder if I really am in a coma, doesn't mean you're delusional, right? A delusion is a strongly held belief that is not based in reality. So you simply thinking, I feel like I am not really living here. I feel like I'm in a coma. And if somebody gives you a wealth of information, you have the ability to say, oh yeah, I'm not in a coma, then it's not a delusion. I was with my follow-up group the other day, and one of the girls, she's like, oh yeah, I have a delusion where I look like a corpse and I put makeup on. It was something like that. It was some sort of delusion. I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, I'd say that's more paranoia than a delusion, because you don't believe that you're actually a corpse. You feel like you're a corpse. You have the inclination, you have the idea that you're a corpse and you're putting makeup on, but you don't genuinely think you are a corpse. That's the big difference. A delusion is a belief. You don't think, you believe, you firmly believe. And that's sort of where I want to take this conversation. I mean, when it comes to DMT, when it comes to psychedelics in general, I mean, salvia, I think that's what it's called, salvia, that kind of stuff will mess you up. And it's the kind of stuff that goes on in your brain, and you're messing with the chemicals in your brain. And I have some experience with that, taking into consideration that I'm taking an anti-Parkinsonian, taking an antidepressant, taking an anti-anxiety, and taking 2 antipsychotics. I know what a break in reality feels like, and I know what it's like to patch that break up. Whether it be by force or just a will to adapt. I know what it's like. And I don't think that a lot of people are actually right when they say, oh, people who are psychotic, they're just in tune with the spiritual world, because I genuinely don't think that anything that I experience pertains to any sort of spirituality. I don't think the things that I see and hear are exactly real. I don't think they're real. They could be real. I genuinely don't know. I don't think they're real, but I have no proof they're there. So hindsight is 20/20. I'm not experiencing a psychedelic trip, obviously. I never will, never want to, probably never will, like I said. But it makes you think. I was like, psychedelics have a really weird place in the world of mental health, because it can be very healing for some people. And I think that's one of the most important things. I think if it heals you, if it helps you get over trauma, then that's great. That's really, really great. But if you're like me, somebody who has a genetic predisposition to a psychotic disorder, you should probably stay away from psychedelics. Also, if you're taking antidepressants. And I think that all the experiences that people have during psychedelic trips, I think they can be very similar to what a psychotic person experienced in a psychotic episode. And I just wanted to give my little 2 cents about that. So if you have any questions, comments, answers, whatever, leave them in the description below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I always love hearing about your stories. I love how some people are like, oh no, you're not psychotic. You're just in tune with the spiritual world. I may make fun of that a little bit, but I genuinely think it's interesting. So if you have anything to say, put it in the comments. But that's it from me. I hope you have a good day, and stay safe wherever you are. Ahoy ho, palama pono.